Some weekends are full of relaxation. Other weekends you get a lot of stuff done, and some weekends are they're just rough. They're just rough, Cody. And that's exactly what it was for Atlanta sports last week. Christian Gokel alongside Cody Queen and Cam Urshery here, and it's just a rough weekend.
Rough,
Cody.
baby. Rough.
Just stressful. You know, just everything you expect out of an Atlanta sports weekend. The Braves lose a series to the Marlins after losing a series to the Phillies.
And the Marlins, dude, I've been saying every year. What's up?
I'm still not watching out for the Marlins because they're
better watch
well below 500 right now.
World Series champs. Watch
the Braves. Well, we talked about the Braves. The Hawks just get absolutely demolished by the Philadelphia 76ers. I blame you guys for giving me any hope whatsoever because both of you guys are talking about 7-game series, and I'm trying to tell you after watching the second half of Game 1, I thought the series was going to be over in 5, but I let both of you guys talk me into believing. And what happens? The Hawks get absolutely smacked. I mean, Cam, let's start there. The Hawks have nothing for the 76ers. This series is over in 5. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. I think they'll come out swinging tonight. I really do. Their season's on the line. So I think they're going to come out swinging tonight and win tonight. It's a 7-game series, man.
You know in the cartoons where like the one boxer is like holding the other boxer's head and he's like swinging because he's short and he can't hit him? That's what the 76ers literally do to the Hawks. They're taller than them across the board. They're more athletic. They're faster. And I would say, at least in this series, they can shoot the 3 ball as well as the Hawks. So it's like, what do the Hawks do better than the 76ers?
I mean, I agree. They don't do nothing better. It's just, I just feel like they're going to win tonight. I do. We all know Philly.
It's just a premonition. It's just a feeling.
You're one of them dudes who just get like the feeling in their stomach in the casinos and walk out in a negative like balance.
Yeah,
like that. I'm gonna win this one. I got this one.
I got a feeling, and all of a sudden there's people following you in suits.
I think Danny Green is out for the series. That helps out a little bit. He's a pretty good defender. I just think they have a chance to win tonight. I don't think they'll win the series. That's a long shot now. Embiid, he's an MVP. Ben Simmons, he's a defensive player of the year. They have a little too much for him, but I mean, they got one game. That's all that matters to me. The Hawks, they're on the way. They're on the way. And they're missing DeAndre Hunter too. That hurts a lot, not having him.
But see, even that win felt like a loss to me because you had to scratch and claw at the end of it after being up, I believe, 26 at one point, at least up 20 at halftime. You had to scratch and claw for a 4-point win at the end where Kevin Huerter was having to like sling a ball the full length of the court to John Collins to hit some free throws. Bogdanovich had to hit a huge 3 in the final seconds of the game for you to solidify a win again, in which you were up 20 at halftime. Cody, I feel like since the end of the first quarter, and I'll say this because they played them even in that second quarter, since the end of the first half against the 76ers, the Hawks have seemed like they just have absolutely zero chance against Embiid, against Simmons. They have nothing for Embiid. Simmons has been okay offensively, but I think he's been pretty elite defensively against especially Trae Young. But I mean, John Collins has disappeared in this series, right? You have nothing right now for the Philadelphia 76ers.
No, Doc didn't let it get too long. He corrected, literally, they got one half on him.
Yeah.
So Doc corrected it at halftime, came out swinging, didn't get it all the way, and then continuing it game after game after game where he's figured them out, knowing that his team's better, then they're playing like they're better. The Hawks, they had a good run. You know, you're right. I don't think they're going to win another game. I think they're out. Dude,
well,
the 76ers
are lose tonight. There's all the momentum's gone. You have to go back up to the Philly. It's over. But Cam, I'm looking at this Hawks team, and I think there's some really good bones to it, right? Like Trae Young, I think has kind of eliminated the narrative of the Hawks just getting completely ripped off in the Luka Doncic trade. I think he's kind of gotten rid of that narrative. He's had a really good playoff so far. I'll say that. I think he's played really well throughout both series. So he's done a good job eliminating that. You got a playoff series win. You got to kind of shut the New York Knicks fans up, which was really fun. But still, like, what's the goal of this team? Is it to be a team that wins a first-round playoff series and then gets bounced in the second round? Is its goal to get to the conference championship? Because if the goal is to win championships, I would say you're still at least 2 superstars away. Because that's That's what the league has become, right? The league has become, unless you can stack superstar, superstar, and superstar. Look what's in the Eastern Conference. Look what you have to get by when healthy. When healthy, you have to get past Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But if you look at it this year, say if the Hawks did have a superstar, another one, they'll probably win the East because everybody's injured. Yeah, you have one of those years every 4 or 5 years. You have that year where somebody gets injured. We saw this 3 years ago when Golden State got injured and Kawhi and them won. But the Hawks, they, like you said, they really are a superstar or two away from winning it all. But this year was a success. Nobody came into this season thinking they'll make a play, win a playoff game. I mean, win a playoff series and then beat, a #1 seed like they did. So it was a successful year. Hats off to Trae Young. The trade wasn't a wash.
Really down 2-1 in the series, and he said, "Look, it was a successful year. He did."
No matter what happens, I do agree with him.
No matter what happens, I mean, you got to give the Hawks credit. They came out there and they're a young team. They're really young, and they made it to the second round and beat Philly in a game. That's an experienced team. They've went through some battles. They're experienced.
Has Nate McMillan done enough to earn this job full time? Remove the interim tag.
Of course, they should sign him for like 4 or 5 years.
Well, we say, of course. Here's what I would ask you. I guess it's a two-parter. Is Atlanta a destination city for free agents? Because it has never been in any sport, period.
Right there.
And number two, is Nate McMillan the coach who can go out there and land one of those superstars?
I think as far as Atlanta being a destination spot, yes, because they have Trae Young. He's just exciting to play with. And he's one of those superstars. He can score and then get you the ball as well. He's not selfish. So it's a destination spot. It's going to have to be a young player, young superstar that's coming off like his first contract, trying to get a big contract. And Atlanta, it's a destination spot now. I think they could get a superstar within these next 3-4 years.
Okay, well, all right. Speaking of Luka Doncic, there's already reports coming out that he probably stay in Dallas. Is he good enough to get the guy that they swap spots for to come into Atlanta?
Luka Doncic,
that's the type of thing that we're talking about.
No, Luka isn't.
Then it's a no.
No, Luka isn't starting these rumblings to go from Dallas to Atlanta. He wants to go to, I would say, one of 5 teams.
So it's a no.
Either one of the LA teams, either one of the New York teams, or Boston.
I'm not saying that they're going to pull him. I'm not saying this at all. It's a yes or no. It's a no to me, and it's a no from you.
Yeah.
No from you.
Yeah, it's a no.
It's a no. So
for
Luka.
So
but
I don't think Luka is going to
I don't think that's how it works. though. I think guys have preferred destinations, right? So it's like
just like you're saying, is it a preferred destination?
But not everybody has the same preferred destinations. My point is, I don't think Luka, as a young superstar, is wanting to get out of Dallas to go to another. I don't want to call Dallas a mediocre franchise, but like a
middle class.
Yeah, not elite. Right.
Yeah.
He wants to go somewhere that's elite. Like you said, the Lakers, maybe the Clippers, Boston, somewhere like that.
Man, you were talking about.
I mean, that's just me, because I mean, who would not want to go to Miami with no state income tax? But I do think he wants out of Dallas. And if he does, I don't think it's to go to Atlanta. Right.
Okay.
Now, I'm just looking at Atlanta in general, like over its history as a sports town. For whatever reason, it's never been a destination spot for free agents. I mean, even the Atlanta Braves, you've never landed what do you call it, a whale? Like, you've never landed one of those players when they've gone into free agency, right? More often than not, it's that player leaving your franchise, or you bring in a guy and develop him and he becomes amazing, or you have a guy that comes up through your farm system and becomes amazing. You don't really have a history of the Atlanta Braves bringing in that dude, right? Like every now and then you'll bring in a guy like a Tim Hudson and he'll turn into a superstar, or a Shelby Miller and he'll turn into a superstar. But I'm talking about like you have a guy who's one of the top 3 or 4 at their position in the sport, and you go out and grab him. I mean, like what happened with Mark Teixeira? You had Mark Teixeira, then he became a Yankee, right? It's just what happens.
Has that ever happened to an Atlanta franchise so far that they've gotten like a top 5 player?
I'd say like John Abraham.
Okay.
In free agency. I mean, but he wasn't like one of those. But he was an amazing all-pro level defensive end. I think arguably one of the top 3 or 4 defensive linemen in Falcons history.
Yeah,
maybe not even arguably.
Yeah, not arguably.
I'll put it like this. Say with the Hawks, they might be like Golden State, where they don't have to get the superstar. It's a long shot because it's Golden State, but
that would
might be like that.
Assuming that that Trae Young turns into Steph Curry, and that somebody else on the team is already Klay Thompson, and somebody else on the team is Draymond Green.
Okay, Steph and Trae, that you can compare that because Trae is light years ahead of where Steph was in his third year. Herder and Klay, same height, kind of the same area, but of course you can't compare them now because we know what they've done.
I feel dirty listening to you make this comparison.
Yeah, I know it's a long shot, but just thinking hypothetically, they can make it happen.
Is that the pitch where Nate McMillan is bringing in the superstar? And he's like, look, listen, Steph Curry pulls down like a slide. Trae Young, Klay Thompson pulls down a slide. Kevin Huerter, like trying to keep a straight face while he says Kevin Huerter. Doesn't Klay Thompson have the record for most 3-pointers and a half in NBA playoff history?
No more, right?
Oh no, it's Dame. It's Dame now.
It's Dame now. He did have that.
Yeah, he did.
Multiple rings and has multiple records in the NBA playoffs. We're comparing him to Kevin Huerter. Like, come on, Cam. I think the Hawks are light years away.
Also, on those Golden State team, they had 2 top 5 scorers in the league in Klay and Curry. So
yeah,
we don't have. Yeah. The Hawks don't have 2 out of the.
But
5
also, like on those teams as well, you have guys like that were just kind of like free agent assassins, like Andre Iguodala, that are on that team that had huge playoff performances. Right, like
it's my boy.
You literally bring Andre Iguodala in. Oh yeah, Cody, also a Golden State fan.
No, Andre Iguodala was in the finals for like 7 years in a row, something like that. Dude, that's cool.
No, but I also like distinctly remember Cody Queen. Big Golden State fan.
My ex-wife was. No, I'm not. Look at this guy. I'm a Magic fan.
For a stretch, he's like, no, I get it, man.
I can't root for anybody.
Just don't call yourself a fan of that team.
I'm not a fan of the team.
I seem to remember a Golden State shirt.
Not me. My wife had one. Well, ex-wife.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up my heartbreak, dude.
Don't turn
my
this
God, I'm so depressed now. Jeez, this guy.
Just because you can't pick, just because you can't
a
pick
wife. So you trying to say I can't pick a wife? What?
Look, it's pretty consistent, right? You can't pick a team.
I know, dude. It's ridiculous. It's
can't
my
pick a
life.
city to live in.
Can't.
Man, Cody's inconsistent.
I know.
Inconsistent Cody.
Inconsistent Cody. It's okay. Go Magic.
Just like Atlanta Sports, man. No, I think Atlanta Sports are consistent because they're just consistently kind
in
of
the middle of the pack,
kind of disappointing. Consistently kind of disappointing, and that's how it's going to be. My prediction: the series is over in 5. I think the Hawks lose tonight and then lose. Once you go down 3-1 and you have to go back for the return.
Don't give us that smirk there, Cam.
Philly, I think the series is over. Again, and then quickly here on the Braves, I want to hit on this. We can talk about it a little bit more later. ESPN.com put out an article and they basically just kind of recapped the teams and they tiered them out into going for it, don't know, and then fire sell, and then just trash, basically, is how they segmented these teams out. And they have the Atlanta Braves still in the we don't know. They don't know how to categorize the Atlanta Braves. And I think from the outside looking in, that's fair, right?
Yeah.
If you're saying, man, this team still has Freddie Freeman, still has Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. They have Max Fried. Charlie Morton's been getting better. They have all of these guys. We don't know yet if they're going to be able to turn that switch. I think the Braves are who they are. I think they are a 500 baseball team right now. Now, is that all of their fault? No. When you go around the diamond, catcher, right? You're now with your third catcher. You came into the season with Travis d'Arnaud as your all-everything catcher. Really good bat. Amazing calling games behind the plate. He's out. You lose Alex Jackson as well. And so now you're on your third guy at catcher. Go into the outfield, right? Your center fielder was supposed to be Christian Pache. He's been hurt. Ender Inciarte got better. He got hurt. He's back in there now, but now he's rotating with a journeyman career 32-year-old backup, right? Left field was supposed to be Marcell Ozuna, who was an MVP candidate last year. He's not a part of the team anymore after a domestic violence charge, right? So you can pretty much say that's done. So you went from having 2 MVP candidates. One's no longer on the field because he put his hands on his wife, according to police reports, and the other one just isn't performing. And some people are reporting it's because he's upset about his contract. That being Freddie Freeman, upset about his contract. It could just be the fact that he's having a rough year, right? People have rough years.
That's what I think.
He had a career best year last year. Now he's having a rough year. But so you take all of that into account. Dansby Swanson's been very okay. Ozzy Albies has heated up lately. Austin Riley's been a godsend. But, I mean, outside of that, you're like 3 clutch hits from Pablo Sandoval away from being 6 games under 500 right now. So I think the Braves are who they are. They're an injured team, but also a team who a vast majority of the guys they needed to step up and perform haven't performed.
I actually agree with what they're saying. You just don't know yet. You're right.
I think you do know.
I think with the injuries once, so you got the other half of the season. That's when I'm really going to judge them. What happens?
No, but
with
it's
the
not.
other half
It's
of the
not going to
season.
happen though, because Travis d'Arnaud wouldn't be back until the playoffs if they make the playoffs. And if you get him back, what are you getting back? Right? You're getting a guy who had hand surgery,
It's shot in the dark,
who hasn't played all year. Right? Marcell Ozuna's not coming back.
Yep.
Unless something crazy happens inside the legal system, and even if that does happen, he's not coming back.
Well, I don't expect Freddie to be like this because last year didn't they start off a little like sluggish? They're a second.
No,
they're
last year
they
didn't. Last year they didn't start off sluggish because last year was literally shorter than what we've already played this year. It was a 60-game season last year.
Yeah,
we're 33 games into this season. Right? I think the Braves are who they are. Like they are who we thought they were.
They're a middle of the pack team.
Yeah, I'm worried because they're the next part of their schedule. They got some tough opponents. Cardinals,
that's what's so confusing about it is you play the Dodgers with this same lineup and you face 2 Cy Young Award winners and you take 2 out of 3 again.
Dude, what the I know.
But then you lose back-to-back series. You lose 4 out of 6 to the Phillies and the Marlins.
Yep.
So do you believe they're one of those teams they just wake up for a good opponent, and the lesser opponents they just kind of take them for granted?
I think they're a 500 baseball team.
Yeah, I think they're a hit or miss team. It's a they win one game, lose one game, or they'll win 3 games, lose 3 in a row. They're a 500 baseball team. Yeah,
500 baseball team.
Not this weeks ago.
And again, you say Freddie Freeman, like you think Freddie Freeman will pick it up. I don't know how much that changes because
I
again,
hope he does.
You're looking at the bot. You have a journeyman outfielder, a 32-year-old journeyman outfielder hitting cleanup for you.
Yep.
That's where the Braves are at right now.
Yeah, because you're right. Because this time, I mean, well, halfway through last season, they had their dudes. They were so solidified. These are our guys. Now they're trying to find different people.
Okay,
people
that's
are
why a
coming
lot
down,
of
going
people
up.
like look at last year and say you can't really consider. They put an asterisk next to the championship for the Dodgers because a huge part of baseball is navigating 162 games because things like this do happen. I mean, when the Nationals won their World Series, they were atrocious through the first 50 games, but their starters and their rotation got solidified and their starters started performing well. The bullpen started performing well and they started mashing the baseball, right? When they won their World Series. So there is a chance for the Braves, but when I look at what they have currently in the clubhouse and what could potentially come back, like I'm throw Mike Soroka out of it, right? Because you had Brian Snitker come out and say, listen, he's done for the season. And literally that day recanted that and saying, hey, I shouldn't have said that. We don't actually know, according to the doctors, that he is done for the season. He's done for the season.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting Mike Soroka back. So who's the arm help? I mean, Tucker Davidson's been really good, but when he pitches really well, you get no run support. You can't count. Like if Ronald Acuna has a game where he doesn't get a hit, like if Ronald Acuna has a game where he doesn't get a hit, which is few and far between, but it's going to happen because it's baseball, your offense just shuts down.
Yep. And
you're going out there with Almonte as a viable option.
Dude,
like that's your cleanup hitter. And I'm not taking nothing away from him. A 32-year-old journeyman, he has provided some pop into this lineup.
Hey, congratulations.
Right. But that's what you're rolling into where you're trying to make a playoff run and compete for the NL East title. That's what we're going with. Heredia is an everyday guy. Like I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel unless they make something happen at the All-Star break, but I don't know what that is. Do you go get a bat for the outfield? Because again, you're not waiting for Marcell Ozuna to come back. He's probably done.
That's why I say being a manager for baseball, dude, that's one of the harder jobs in sports.
Oh, it's nuts.
Dude, it's hard.
It's nuts. But I mean, again, it's looking rough for the Braves right now. They have a 2-game set coming up with the Boston Red Sox. Then a couple series after that, you got a big one coming up with the New York Mets. Some double headers in there. And so that's going to be, I think, an early season defining or even a mid-season defining series for the Atlanta Braves. We do have to take a quick break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Glad you're hanging out with us on this hot, muggy Monday afternoon. Hopefully you are listening to us in the air-conditioned comfort of either your car or your office.
This is how old I'm getting. I would love the rain. My grass needed it, dude.
Oh, no. I mean, those
Loved it.
big time rain get.
Why are you laughing at me, Cam?
Cam doesn't know anything about that in that apartment.
Young gun.
That apartment life. But we're glad y'all are hanging out with us on this Monday afternoon. Kirby Smart joined Marty and McGee over the weekend on ESPN Radio, and the head football coach at the University of Georgia shared his thoughts on a potential 12-team playoff. Again, this from Marty and McGee. Kirby Smart saying, quote, most changes have been relatively small. With the potential of what's been proposed, this is probably the greatest change there has been in terms of major college football. I think a lot of this is going to boil down to strength of schedule. For a long time now, we have been trying to build up our future strength of schedule because it's not the losses that are going to kill you. It's not playing the best teams. So what Kirby Smart's saying there is it's not going to be the one, maybe two losses that keep you out of the playoffs. Now, what could potentially keep you out of the playoffs is a weak schedule. And so Georgia, we've seen this, and a lot of other schools doing this as well, going out. Georgia has Oklahoma, Ohio State on their future schedules out there. UCLA, I don't know how much that adds to your strength of schedule, but UCLA on that future schedule as well. So saying, again, it wouldn't be playing Clemson to start a season that would keep you out, except the rest of your schedule was weak. And so I think that's an interesting point there when you look at what this 12-team playoff will be. Probably by 2023 is when we would first see this. When you're looking through, we know that the setup is proposed as this. Top 6 highest-ranked conference champions. So last year, that would have been Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, I'm leaving somebody out in my mind, Clemson, there we go, and then Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati would have been the highest 6. So they would have been in, right?
Oh, yeah,
but
baby.
then after that, you have 6 at-large bids, right? 6 non-automatic qualifiers. How do you determine those 6? Because a lot of people say, Cam, you just put the 6 best teams in. You just put the 6 best teams in after those 6 conference champs. Define best. Is it the team with the best record? Because the team with the best record might be like a North Carolina team who plays in the ACC, but they don't play Clemson. Their hardest game on their schedule is Miami, right? And so if they go 11-1, but you have a team like Auburn who goes, say, 10-2, but they lose to Georgia and Alabama, which team's better? Because North Carolina has a better record, right? So like it's so ambiguous and it's so vague determining who are the 6 best teams in the country. Because what do most people assume it's going to be? It's going to be the SEC champ and then probably 2 or 3 more SEC teams that get in there, and then everybody else will be fighting for those other 2 or 3 at-large bids. I mean, that's what it would have been this past year. You would have had Alabama as an auto bid, because they won the SEC championship. Texas A&M would have been in, Florida would have been in, and Georgia would have been in. That would have been 4 out of 12 would have been SEC teams. And I would say deservedly so. If your goal is to determine the 12 best teams, and when I hear best, I mean if you lined this one team up against 130 other teams, they would beat all but 11 of them. That's what I hear when I say 12 best.
Yep.
Right? That's how you want to do it. I think that's how you got to do it. But a lot of people, and especially people on the college football playoff, think like this. They say Auburn lost to Georgia. Auburn lost to Alabama. Well, we have 2 data points right there that show us that they can't beat one of these top 12 teams. And I would say it doesn't show you that. It shows you that they probably can't beat one of the top 4 or one of the top 6 teams in the country. But people think when you say that, we should give that spot to a team who hasn't had a chance to do that yet.
Okay.
Right? Like you give it to the North Carolina, who has a great offense, but they haven't played a very hard strength of schedule. And so because Auburn theoretically would have lost 2 of those games, we'll give it to North Carolina because they deserve a chance, and Auburn's already proven that they can't do it. I mean, this is what they're going to be running into.
I don't know. I don't think I would. No, if I think it's whoever's
But-
ranked,
but how-
obviously who's ranked higher,
But how do you determine that? Like
like you do every year.
but
Top
if you,
12.
But if you do that, every poll is different. You have an AP poll, you have a coaches poll, you have the college football playoff rankings. Every poll is different. You have S&P Plus from Bill Conley. How do you rank the 6 best? PFF does it based off different metrics.
Use a computer like they did at the BCS.
Oh, you want to
Boom.
use? Well, it wasn't just computers, but you're going to let a computer.
The same way they did
So
it.
you're just going to put, like, you and BJ are just going to go put the stats and the scores in, and that's going to determine who the best team is.
Bleep bloop bleep beep 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 beep. Yep,
That's how going to turn it is. You're not
Mhm.
going to actually use eyeballs to watch the game.
Nope.
And determine who they are.
Nope.
So you are the
your eyes lie.
No, you are the deciding factor. Like, your job is to determine who the best teams are in this one sport.
Isn't that what they did
And
the
you're
BCS
not going to
era?
put your no. It was one of the metrics.
Oh yeah, well, not
The BC
obviously use the same thing they did to BCS.
So you want to bring the BCS back to determine the 12?
Ish, to a point.
Because right now you have a college football.
I mean, I
selection
feel like
committee.
you should take different parts of the way they did college football throughout the
The
years.
selection committee isn't changing, so we can just go ahead and nix this argument. This isn't changing. It's going to be a group of people deciding who those teams are. I think what we're arguing for here is transparency into defining how and why. Now, I will say this: we've never had that anywhere, period, in college sports.
Yep.
Like, when you go to the college football, or not the college football, the NCAA basketball tournaments, there's no real rhyme or reason behind who gets 1 seed and who gets
No,
2
not at
seeds.
all.
I
Actually,
mean, you pretty much know that Gonzaga, right? They were a 1 seed last year.
Yeah.
Right. But when you get down to who's a 5 seed and who's a 9 seed and who's a 13 seed, they don't give you any transparency as to, like, what math or what algorithm they use to
it's like
define
throwing
that.
darts with a blindfold.
But I mean, it's like Loyola. Loyola should not have been an 8 seed last year,
Yeah.
and they beat Georgia Tech, who was a 9 seed. They should have been an 8 seed. They were clearly better than that, right? So it's just, we want some sort of transparency as to what defines who the 6 best teams are in the country following those 6 conference champions. Because, I mean, a lot of people would argue that Coastal Carolina would have gotten in as one of the 6 highest ranked conference champs last year, but people would argue Texas A&M is a better team than them last year. Like, who would have won that game last year? Grayson McCall and Coastal Carolina, or Kellen Mond and Texas A&M if they played head to head?
A&M.
I think
yeah.
Texas A&M's winning that game pretty handily.
I liked A&M last year.
I think they're winning that game pretty handily, but I don't know that. But I do know that they lost to Alabama by 28 and they lost to Florida by 3.
Yep.
I know that. I know that Coastal Carolina didn't lose to anybody last year until their bowl game. But in the regular season, in the conference championship game, they didn't lose to anybody, and they beat Zach Wilson and BYU in a top 10 matchup. But you just did what I think a lot of people do, which is, well, I think Texas A&M's better, so they deserve to be a higher seed. I think.
No, I don't think they deserve to be a higher seed.
No. But if that's how you're seeding it out, so you literally just said you thought Texas A&M was a better team. I asked you who would win. You said Texas A&M.
But are you talking about conference champs? I still like if you win if you're a higher ranked conference.
There's only 4 buys.
Yeah.
So you can't give 4 buys
but
to
the
6
top
teams.
6.
But that's not seeding.
Well, afterwards is seeding.
No,
So after
the
6.
5th ranked conference champ is not automatically the 5th seed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, teach me.
Right. So you just said is a team who would get in automatically
Yeah.
because of the conference championship. You just said you don't think they would beat a team who would have received an auto bid.
Oh, so they would be a lower seed than Texas A&M. Oh, okay.
Yeah, last year,
Okay.
year, if you spread this out, they would have been on the road.
My fragile
Coastal
mind.
Carolina, undefeated, one of the auto bids would have been on the road in the first round.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, how do you determine that? How do you define who's better? Because you just said you watched Texas A&M lose to Alabama by 28. You watched them blow it against Florida.
Yep.
And you watched Coastal Carolina go perfect through their season.
With a you can say with a weaker schedule, right?
And I say with a weaker
with the
schedule.
BYU, you got to compare BYU to Alabama and
how
stuff.
about you beat Louisiana, who beat a top 10 Iowa State? You went undefeated in the Sun Belt, and you beat a top 10 team.
Your belief in Iowa
How many
State
top
is
10 wins did Texas A&M have last year?
None. Well, one. No, none. Yeah.
Lost to Florida and Alabama.
Yep. None.
So how do you determine who's the better team. I think what a lot of people do is they look and they say Texas A&M plays in the SEC West. They got 10 wins while they play in the SEC West. Coastal Carolina plays in the Sun Belt. They went undefeated and got 12 wins, but they still play in the Sun Belt. They're not a better team. Even though they probably have a first-round pick at tight end and Isaiah Likely, they have a really good defense, 10 out of 11 guys coming back on their defense. Grayson McCall is a bona fide superstar at quarterback, but because they play in the Sun Belt, in my mind, I believe they're not as good as an SEC West team, so I think the SEC West team deserves to be higher. Or if Coastal Carolina wasn't a conference champ last year, they don't deserve, or highest ranked conference champ, they don't deserve to be.
Well, let's say that's what they're using these next few years. So the Sun Belt's up and coming. They've got some really good teams in there now. So I think eventually, say if they continue this track, they can't keep on saying, well, they played in the SEC.
I don't think it's a Sun Belt. I don't think it's a Sun Belt you got to watch out for becoming like one of the new quote unquote Power 5 teams. Which Power 5 is defined by money. So that's how you define Power 5. I think if you want to actually talk about on the field stuff, I think the AAC will have a legitimate argument, or probably does have a legitimate argument that they're better than the Pac-12.
No, that's a dang good argument. No,
I think they have a legitimate argument that they're better top to bottom than the Pac-12.
And they're producing some. I know, yes, NFL is different, but they're producing some dudes out there. So no, you're right.
So it's interesting, just the lack of transparency, and it really what it comes down to is it's a bunch of people sitting there going, Texas A&M is better because they play in the SEC West.
How many are on the committee?
That I couldn't tell you right now. I think it's between 12 and 15. I couldn't tell you at the top of my head.
Wow, it's that less of woo.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and a lot of them are active athletic directors at colleges, and so there's no bias going into that one at all. We gotta take a quick break though. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Got a lot to dive into, but I want to stick with the conversation we were having in the last segment, but take it to more of a G5 perspective because now, because of the guaranteed spot, which make no mistake, there is now a guaranteed spot for the G5, sometimes maybe more, because the language inside the college football playoff proposal for 12 teams is the top 6 conference champions would get auto bids. So what does that mean? That means Power 5, quote unquote, in typical years would get 5, and then you'd have 1 guaranteed spot for the highest ranked G5, right? Last year, you would have had 2 because the Pac-12 would not have been ranked as high as the AAC champ or the Sun Belt champ. So you would have 2 last year. But this is from Jamie Chadwell, a head football coach at Coastal Carolina. He said, you've got an invitation to the dance now. You actually have an opportunity. I think that's what everybody's talking about is no matter what type of season you had, it was very slim that you ever had an opportunity. Slim to none, and Slim usually left the building. We've got official visits going on this weekend, and I can look them in the face and say, if we handle business, we have an opportunity to play for national championships. You've never had that opportunity to say that before, and you can do that now. And so that gives you hope. And as Andy Dufresne said in Shawshank Redemption, hope is maybe the best of things. So, I mean, that's Jamie Chadwell on Marty and McGee there. But think about what that means for Georgia Southern to keep it local. Chad Lunsford can look at any recruit that comes to Georgia Southern now and say, you have a legitimate shot. If you come in here, you put in the work, you execute, we build something here, we go out and we win the Sun Belt, we have a pathway to winning national championship. Where the conversation before had been, you come in, you put the work in, you do what you're supposed to do, we get it done, we win the Sun Belt, you can win the New Orleans Bowl. That's what the conversation has been.
Yeah.
Now it's national championship. How much does that change everything for every college football team in the G5 around the country to where you can say there is now a legitimate pathway for us to win a national championship? Is it a long shot? Sure. Are you going to have to get past Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia's, Florida's to do it? Yeah. But if you want to be the college football national champion, you're going to have to do that.
It's going to be, the attitudes are going to change as in, and you know, the top, we're not going to be top 4, so we're not going to be able to win champ. Now we're going to be like, dude, hey,
no,
we got this.
Where it's going to
change
I mean? Is when all of a sudden a G5 school is going after the 5-star quarterback who's being recruited by 3 or 4 Power 5 teams that already have 5-star quarterbacks there. You can look at him and say, you want to come here and play immediately and still have a legitimate shot to go win a national championship? You don't have to go sit on the bench for 3 years and probably end up transferring out to another school.
Yep.
I mean, how many of the before Mac Jones, how many consecutive Heisman winners did we have that were transfers? And so it's like you don't have to do that anymore. You can come to Georgia Southern. You can come to App State. You can come to Coastal Carolina. You can come to Fresno State. You can come to Boise State.
Yep.
And if you do what you're supposed to do and you win your conference and you go undefeated, there's a legitimate pathway for you to get in there and play a playoff game.
You're going to start stealing guys from, let's say, hey, man, I know you're a 5-star and everything. You want to go to Ole Miss where they're probably not going to get an automatic bid in because everybody else in the SEC is going to be doing better? Or do you want to come to Georgia Southern where if we win the Sun Belt, we in?
Yeah.
We in. You know what I mean? Do you want to do that? And if we have you, we have a better chance of doing that.
The flip side is that is pretty much if you average it out over the past 6 college football playoffs, the SEC would have gotten in about 3.5 teams per college football playoff. So there will still be the counter arguments from SEC teams.
But what I'm saying, like, because you know you got Texas A&M, but like Ole Miss, those type of teams. That's why I said Ole Miss. All that were the, I guess you would say the lower end. I guess, you know, if you guys looking at me on the screen, quotations, whatever, that they can, these other teams could start stealing it from them instead of being like, dude, you're not going to get in the playoffs. You can get in the playoffs here. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to win the SEC, and you're probably not going to be top 4 team in the SEC, but you can be the number 1 team in the Sun Belt Conference and win it, and then have a chance to go in the playoffs. It's going to start stealing from teams like that. I think so.
It is fascinating to see there again. That quote from Jamie Chadwell, head football coach at Coastal Carolina. Got to take a quick break, though. We'll come back. Final segment of Second Down. We'll let Cam tell us how the Atlanta Hawks are going to pull off the upset tonight. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Got a big show coming up on 3 and Out. Be sure to stick around in the 5 o'clock hour. We will hear from former Clemson and Tulane head coach, two-time ACC Coach of the Year, Tommy Bowden, get his thoughts on the potential 12-team college football playoff and some of the name, image, and likeness stuff circulating around as we wait to hear if there will be a federal bill that kind of preempts all of the statewide bills, which are set to go into place on July 1st. But Cam, we got about 2 minutes left in the show here. I spent the first 15 minutes of the show berating and bashing and calling into question a lot of legitimacy around the Atlanta Hawks. I want to give you these last few minutes here to tell us how and why the Atlanta Hawks will pull the series even against the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. They're rocking the MLK black home uniforms. How and why do they get it done?
They're playing with house money, so they have nothing to lose. They lose tonight, that's what's expected. They win, great. But they have to go back to the formula they used game one. Get out in transition. Don't let that big defensive lineup set up and start playing good defense with Trae Young, Thibault, and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is 6'11". He's their point guard. Clint Capella is 6'10". That's the Hawks center. So that's a big lineup. The smallest lineup Philly goes is, I think, 6'6" with Danny Green. You can't let their defense set up. They have to get out in transition and knock down open shots. They're going to get open shots with Trae Young playing the point, running the pick and roll. So that's what's going to bring success. If they try to play this half-court offense that they've tried the last 2 games, you can go ahead and say 3-1 and wrap it up with a gentleman sweep in Philly. But I think the Hawks will win tonight. I think that's going to be the formula. Trae's going to come out 30+, 10 assists, about 4 or 5 threes. The guy's going to be out there making it rain in Atlanta tonight. So Migos and everybody, T.I., whoever's on the sideline is going to be going crazy tonight. It's going to be a good win tonight.
Well, they don't only need Trae to do that, but they need more help than that.
Yeah. That's where I start getting worried about it. Again, that game coming up at 7:30 tonight. Big show coming up on 3 and Out. The guys will give you some better, worse, or push when it comes to college football units. Some interesting ones on there. Alabama's offense, Clemson's defense. Are they better or worse than they were last year? The guys will talk about that. We do want to get your thoughts on the show. 912-342-7184. Call in and give us your thoughts on everything. Kirby Smart's comments on the 12-team playoff. Which of these units are going to be better or worse in 2021? Do the Hawks get it done tonight against the 76ers? We want to hear from you. 912-342-7184. BJ Bennett, Kevin Thomas coming up next. Tommy Bowden, former Clemson head coach, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour here on ESPN Radio. If you missed any portion of the show, check it out on ESPNCoastal.com. Any portion of it?